Hey everyone, I am back with another drawing tutorial, and in this video I'm going to show you how to color anime or manga style hair using markers. And the markers I'm using in particular are called Prismacolor markers, as many of you guys that have watched my previous videos know. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And as you notice, I did speed up this video just because it was way too long before, and I'm actually talking in this video. I was actually talking in this video when I was filming it, but I just decided to go over it and make everything faster so you guys don't have to watch me for 20 minutes making just coloring hair. So anyway, the color I'm using is called Blue Slate. And that's the first tone that I'm putting on her hair. It's kind of a purpley, bluish, yeah. And I'm using the broad nib on the marker now. I use that for the larger areas of the hair. And I'm going from lightest to darkest the way I'm shading. So I'm not using like the darkest shade first. I always go from lightest to darkest when I color with markers. Some people do the opposite. Some people use the darkest color first and they do the lightest color last, but I like to do lightest to darkest. I find that easiest. When coloring, you also want to keep in mind where the light source is going to be, like if it's coming from above or to the side or to the other side, and change the shading accordingly to where the light source is coming from. So I'm just doing a really basic light source in this video. I'm just kind of having it kind of come straight on her or kind of slightly above her. I'm not 100% sure, but it's kind of like I'd say probably the easiest way to shade stuff, so you don't have to really worry about shading, have some real complicated shading. So I'm just doing something really basic, or at least the easiest light source in my opinion. Anyway, the second color I'm using is called Violet Mist, and I wanted it to add kind of more of a purpley tone to her hair. It really doesn't do that much. I guess I realized that when I watched the video now, but it kind of adds just slightly more depth to the picture and a little bit more kind of a purpley hue. So I'm kind of shading around the bangs and with the ears just a little bit. I did a little bit under the ears too. Okay, so I'm using the Violet Mist color once again, and I'm just shading a little bit of the top of her head. And underneath her ears once again, and behind her neck. Now I'm using something called a colorless blender, and it kind of blends all the colors together to make it look a little bit more like smoother and stuff. And it's basically like a clear marker fluid, just basically a marker with no color. And pretty much all like the good quality marker brands, they usually have like a colorless blender that you can buy separately from the sets, but I got mine with a huge set, so it works really well. I like using it, not all the time, but sometimes I like to use it. Okay, now I'm using a color, an even darker color. It's actually a gray shade. It's called Warm Gray 60%, or 60% Warm Gray. I think it's Warm Gray 60%. Anyway, and I'm using that for the darkest shade of her hair. And some of you may be wondering, oh no, why use gray for hair, you know? But actually, sometimes gray can work really well for a shading color, as long as it's kind of the same tone as the other colors, the other like lighter colors you're using. And actually, I was pretty happy with the way the gray worked with her kind of purpley blue hair. It actually worked pretty well, so I was pretty happy with that. So I'm just continuing to shade the areas. I like to shade a little bit at the bottom of her hair and at the bottom strands. And also, as you can see, I did behind the neck and more shading under the bangs and also under the ears.